Alrighty, hello! Welcome back to Everything in Poderation, because sometimes the internet can be too much. My name is Colin Sparling, and I am a 1-star Amazon review because the shipping package was messed up.
Hi, I'm Robert, and after 690 reviews, I'm a 4.2 stars.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm Daily, and dang, Colin, that messed up package sounds painful. Sorry.
Yeah, just had a consistent problem where, my brand new fleshlight came in damaged, just completely busted.
Already used. Caused the fire.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a shortage. The whole building had to be evacuated.
Yeah, I opened it up. It just burst into flames everywhere as soon as it was exposed to oxygen. It was a whole
Now
mess.
you're suing Twitch.
For more on that, check one of our older episodes about, what was it? About something about Twitch. It was suing Twitch. That time Twitch got sued. That's the one.
Yeah. Well, in case it wasn't obvious, today we're talking about user reviews, not just Amazon reviews, but user reviews in general. And there's a lot of things that we want to touch on this conversation. But something that popped into my head, actually, Robert, when you said 4.2, there is something about, and we can get into the psychology behind ratings and stuff too, but there's something about, like, it's pretty often that you're seeing reviews that are 4.0 and higher, right? And I think it's to the point now where if I see a review that's like 4.3, 4.2, I'm like, oh, like, I start to get a little skeptical. Like my primate brain starts to kick in, and I'm just like, I'm so used to seeing, like, 4.4, 4.5 with like thousands, hundreds of reviews, that the minute I see a 4.2 or 4.3, it could be a restaurant, it could be a product on Amazon or another website. I'm like, what's going on? What's wrong? What happened? Is the quality control bad?
You don't go and you don't purchase, go, or participate in anything under a 4.5 is what you're saying.
Oh, I'm not. I'm just saying I would be more cautious. I'm not saying it would completely keep me from purchasing that project, but that is when I start to get into the territory of like 4.5 with several hundreds or thousands of reviews is like no brainer. Like, I'm like, okay, obviously this is solid. I'm going to go to this place or buy this thing that I was interested in, like, almost no question. Maybe some research if it's a big purchase, but otherwise no question. If it's a 4.2 or 4.3, I'm like, oh, is there like some quality control issues here?
Yeah, I get it, Colin. You're not as adventurous and you don't like fun. I understand. I think where I stand on that is I trust a 4.2 review way more than a 5.0 review out of 5, personally.
I agree with you. I agree with you there.
That is at least where I'm at. And because of that, I don't see too much of a difference between 4.2 and 4.5 stars, because to me that's like so menial. But also, I don't know. Maybe I am more adventurous than you. I don't know.
Yeah, and so like that's kind of like where I wanted to start this conversation with
our standards
is yes, our standards and how they affect our buying decisions and the decisions that we make when it comes to maybe planning a day out or where to go or where to order from for dinner, right? Those sorts of things. And so it is funny too, because it's become such a meme with like reviews and things like that. You see YouTubers like Gus Johnson doing whole skits of like the lowest reviewed, amusement park or whatever in the state of Wisconsin, or like the lowest reviewed restaurants near me and things like that. Or even other YouTubers doing videos where like, I ordered food from the lowest rated restaurant in my area. And I specifically remember a YouTuber ordering a very sketchy looking lobster tail from this restaurant.
Right. And the funny thing is, I feel like user reviews are attached to almost everything now. And maybe that's a byproduct of our excessive consumer culture and excessive technologically, centric culture, right? But I mean, like, you can review your Uber driver, you can review your dog walker if you use a dog walking app, you can review your food and the delivery driver who brought you your food, right? Like, we can review everything now. And you know what? Every opinion matters for sure, but maybe not all of them matter. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's just a little bit too much feedback we can give.
Yeah, and it is funny because, the reason why I wanted to talk about this on our show is because like reviews are such a huge part of our lives now, but it's such an it's such a big byproduct of the internet, right? It's because of the internet that we started reviewing any and everything. You know what I'm saying? Before that, like, way less things were getting reviews, and it was usually done by professionals in some sort of publication.
You had to rely on the professionals in that case, instead of like, okay, but like my neighbor, what do they think? What does the average Joe think?
Yeah, exactly. So like you're getting like there's those two famous reviewers that would always review movies for, I think was it Rolling Stone or something like that. It was the two same professional reviewers for like decades. So like that's what people had to rely upon before the internet was a thing. They had to read about it in the paper. They had to read about it in magazines. I mean, back in the day, you hear several stories of people, for instance, going to buy albums, right? Back when you just had records, that was the only medium you could buy them on, and you basically just had to buy them on based on the cover art and like what sounded good. Because like what other opinion
by their covers?
Yeah, you had to. Like that's.
But I also, admittedly, I read the little blurbs where it says this was a wonderful ride or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, the whole like feed, like the what do they call that? The praise. Yeah, the praise that goes in the back of the book.
Yeah. And maybe, and that's maybe a whole different conversation, but books specifically, you can get quotes from other authors or quotes from people like in the community that like this, it's a science fiction book. Here's a famous science fiction author saying, yeah, it's great. As opposed to your average Goodreads review. There's a weight there that's different, but that's not the case with, I think, all things.
Well, that's actually an interesting thing that you bring up, weight, right? Because I think that plays a pretty crucial role when it comes to purchasing decision or, going out decision, whatever decisions you're making, and you decide I need to look up reviews before I make that decision. I think a lot of like things that have professional critics, right? Like you've been saying, Colin, like to me, those hold a lot more weight, right? Than some average Joe, average Joe 69 on IMDb left a comment saying 4.5 stars out of 5, right? Like I would trust Mr. Ebert over that. However, I think there is something to be said when it's like, okay, here's the aggregated critic review, like score, Metacritic, right? And then here's the aggregated audience review score, like on Rotten Tomatoes, right? Because then there's power in numbers, right? When you have enough people kind of creating a consensus around, okay, this movie is like an 8.5 out of 10. Then you're like, okay, maybe there's something to that versus just one random person out there saying, I think this movie is an 8.5 out of 10,
Absolutely. And the thing that's interesting about review sites like that, where they're aggregated scores based on like both critics and then also user scores, is when there is a disparity between the two, right? So like I'm trying to think of like the last movie that was like the critic score was like way down here, but the user score was like way up here.
Space Jam. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if
I'm memeing, actually. I might. It could be true, but I could also just be memeing.
Yeah, that seems like the type of movie that would score higher on the user reviews, just based off of like the way that hits me.
People being like, oh, I remember when I watched the first one and da-da-da, and we had so much fun watching it with the kids. 5 out of 5.
The last one I can think of is Star Wars Episode 9. Not that the audience score was like really, really high, but I remember the audience score being generally higher than the critics.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was pretty critically panned, but people were like, I had fun.
Yeah. I think a lot of that, right, is just the basic assumption that a critic is, they're a professional. They've seen a shitload of these movies, or they've seen a lot of movies in general, probably way more than the average Joe that's going to see a movie, right? So like they just have a lot more of a basis to critique on, a lot more of an experience, have a bigger expectation out of movies in general. Maybe it's easier for them to pick up on, I don't know, sketchy writing, red herrings shoved in there, whatever it is. I'm thinking a lot of Star Wars Episode 9 now because that movie has a shitload of red herrings
plot
in it.
Threads,
Exactly.
Things that don't quite make sense in the end or don't hit as well.
Yeah, because I think like if we're gonna dissect critic versus audience scores, right? I think critics obviously have a higher standard, and that's not. I'm not trying to say like I know I'm a video game journalist, so I'm kind of speaking from bias, but like it's not that we're trying to be snooty. It's that just by the job that we have. No, it's just that we do it for a living in some ways, right? So I think you would more likely see a professional critic say this movie is derivative because they've seen XYZ number of movies beforehand that have had a similar plot and similar plot threads and all that stuff. Whereas with the audience, I feel like you are less likely to see an audience member say, wow, that plot was derivative, because they haven't seen as many movies, or they just don't care enough about the swath of movies they've seen before to have their thoughts of those movies impact the movie they're currently reviewing.
There's a research aspect to it where it's like, I'm informing you of why this might not jive with you. Here's the things that might be bothering you on the back burner in a technical sense. Whereas I don't think that the average, moviegoer is beholden to producing a movie review for their Saturday night date night flick. It's just like, I like that, or I didn't like that, or I thought that was weird when they did that, but you don't have to elaborate much further than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it. And so like at that point, you kind of have to take into consideration that a lot of the average moviegoer, it's not like they're going to go out of their way to review the movie that they just saw anyway. So wouldn't there be something to be said that like a user or audience score on websites like this are more likely people that are more enthusiast level about movies, rather than the general audience that's going to see these things?
Yeah, I think it could be said that people that generally leave reviews, other than maybe restaurants, are typically like the enthusiast level. Like, I went out of my way to leave a review, unless it was like, I think restaurants are very easy to leave reviews for. I think there's a lot of avenues to do so. So I feel like maybe the average person does that. I do that. I don't know.
Yeah, like Google Maps, right?
Yeah. Yelp.
Yeah.
Here's something though, is that I agree with your train of logic that like someone who cares enough to say, I need to tell the internet that this is a 3 out of 5 stars. Like they probably care more than the average person. However, what do you do when you get an Amazon order from some knockoff Chinese company, and then in your package, you're like, we hope you enjoy the product, and if you leave a 5-star review, we'll give you 20% off your next purchase.
Yes. And we'll definitely this is something I do actually really want to talk about. But just to wrap up the movie topic, I think, as Dalius was saying though, is that it's definitely different, like critiquing a movie, than it is like a restaurant, because the restaurant is just like, you can critique it on the level of, was the service good? Yes or no. Was the food good? Yes or no. Was the restaurant clean? Yes or no. And that's kind of it, right? Like, I can't, unless there's like some major pillars that I'm missing there, like, did a fight break out? Yeah. It's stuff like that. So, but like with a movie, it's like, beyond just giving a basic, 1 out of, or 1 to 5 rating on like stars or whatever, 1 out of 5 stars. People aren't I feel like just there's not as many people that are inclined to be like, oh, this, this thing that the character did that was super metaphorical to what happens from the first to the third act of this film, et cetera, et cetera. I don't feel like there's going to be a whole lot of that, I feel like it's just, movies can be a little bit more nuanced in a lot of ways. But to Robert's point, to circle us back towards Amazon reviews, Amazon is bad. Like, Amazon is such a huge can of worms, man. It's just hard to even like think about where to start, but just talking about,
you can order worms and cans of worms on Amazon.
I guess you can.
Free advertisement for the live worm industry. Hit me up.
Mm-hmm. More importantly, can I order dirt pudding with gummy worms in it?
Because that's what I really care about. Why have we stopped making that? I'm gonna start making that again. Yeah.
Dirt pudding with gummy worms in it?
When you're like 5, but I'm going to make it when I'm like 26.
Yeah, what's stopping you from making it now?
Nothing.
Make your dreams a reality.
I can drive to the store and buy things.
Actually, Robert, do you even know what dirt pudding is?
Yeah, chocolate pudding, crushed up Oreo shit, and gummies, right?
Yeah, okay.
No
All
shit.
Right. I didn't know if that was
yeah.
like a distinctly like, you know, American or even Midwest thing. I don't know. Because I feel like it's one of those things where like people are like, you're fucking weird, dude. What are you talking about?
Don't get me wrong. It is a very distinctly American thing.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. All
At
right.
least I'm pretty sure.
Okay. All right. Because it seems like some dumb shit that we would come up with.
Puppy chow.
Oh my God. Don't even. I fucking love puppy chow so much. But Amazon reviews are all over the place, and I will confess up front that I am very much reliant on Amazon reviews. If there's any like sort of thing that I'm researching or major purchase that I'm about to make, I scour the Amazon reviews. I look at YouTube reviews though too, and this is why you shouldn't just wholly rely on the platform that's selling you things. They also give you the reviews of said things, especially if it's going to be a big purchase. But I think it's more so though for me, menial products like shampoo, like body wash, like something that's just pretty low cost that I use daily. Hey daily, that I don't have to think about all that much. I don't know, like something that I'm not spending a whole lot, like I'm not investing a whole lot in. What do you guys think about that? Like what does your purchasing habits look like on Amazon when it comes to reviews?
So I do something stupid in that I order plants from Amazon when I'm feeling very weak and wanting a new plant. It's
like
just
live
a craving.
plants?
Like live plants.
They sell live plants on Amazon?
They
I
sell
didn't even know
live
this.
plants. There's various vendors that do so. You can't always get the 2-day shipping. Typically, you can't at all get the 2-day shipping. And so I'm very particular about reading reviews for those because you don't want to get a dead plant, or you don't want to get a plant that's going to die upon 2 days of having it, or you don't want to get a totally different plant than what you had ordered, because there's absolutely a ton of times where it's like rare, variegated Nanook Tradescantia, which is a thing, and then they trick you, and then it's a regular Tradescantia. It's not the Nanook variety. It's not variegated.
Damn, and don't you hate when you don't get a Triscateria?
Yeah, don't you? But so I am absolutely a reader when it comes to every single review on the plant, because usually it's around like 40-45 reviews for a particular plant, because those listings go up and down pretty quick depending on the season. Okay. So I read them all. And then I leave a review because I'm like, hey, I still have this plant 3 months later and it's thriving, or I don't have this plant. It died in 2 weeks.
Wow. I actually have a lot of questions about, like, how do they ship plants through Amazon? How do they do that?
It depends on the shape of the plant, but typically what you're going to do is you're going to put a bunch of like ripped up cardboard bitty bits on top of the soil, and then saran wrap that down so that the soil doesn't move, and then do some peanuts around the top of the plant, and then put that all in a vertical box and hope to God that it stays vertical.
Well, with the way delivery drivers treat packages, I'm sure it's always fine.
It doesn't stay vertical. But I have several plants that are still doing really great that I've ordered online and had shipped here.
Wild.
From like California, usually.
What's your hit rate with getting your plants in one piece from there?
A lot of the time it's because I do the reading, I do the research, because there's a ton of listings on there where it's like cheap plants, but you don't know how you're gonna get them. They might be in shitty packaging and spilled everywhere, and their roots have been exposed and they're starting to dry up, and etc. But hey, you got that plant for like $5,
so it's worth it.
So yeah, so Amazon, so they tend to undercut prices on plants too. If you were in comparison to like if you went to the local greenhouse, maybe.
No, local greenhouse prices are fantastic. I have we're an audio medium, but behind me is a large-ish ficus of a variegated Benjamina ficus.
Yeah, those are words.
And she's beautiful.
I don't know what these words mean.
She's about 3 feet tall, and I got her for $20. And the reason
Why are you describing that child like that?
Benjamina is beautiful. I got her from what was the Wayfair, the Wayfair scandal, the child trafficking. Anyway, Benjamina's great. I got her for $20 at the local greenhouse. And the reason why I was like, you know what, I'm going to fucking buy this ficus as if I don't already have 24 plants was because I looked it up on Amazon, and for a 6-inch starter ficus of a Benjamina variegata was $40.
Woof.
I have a 3-foot one for $20.
Wow.
So is that in the work?
Is that
I went down the street to the greenhouse. There's a greenhouse right down the road. It's great.
Hell yeah.
I had to ask if it was indica or sativa because I thought that was
because it's weed. Get it?
Yeah.
No, that's at my farm in Michigan. My blueberry farm in Michigan.
Your blueberry farm. Okay.
They're coming.
They're coming.
Oh shit. Wee woo. They heard me say the indica sativa, and it's not legal over where Daly is. Right. So with your review, so you actually do leave reviews. Like, so is that often? That's all the time that you leave reviews?
Just with plants.
Just with plants.
Unless I will only leave a review on something if it went way over the top of my expectations or it did me dirty. And usually I only do over the top of my expectations when it's like, I went to this local restaurant and it was really cute and I was very charmed, and I saw that they don't have a lot of Yelp reviews, so here you go.
I see. Interesting. That's another thing I want to talk about here in a second, but I want to toss it to you, Robert. What about your experience with Amazon reviews?
I don't really care about them that much personally.
Okay.
Because I also don't use Amazon for many major purchases except for like household cleaning shit. You know, like the really boring stuff where it's like, okay, I mean, even if it's counterfeit Bounty paper towel rolls, it's still a quicker picker up, or at least a somewhat fast picker upper. You know what I mean? So like, I'll take it.
I'm gonna get to our door and it just says somewhat quicker picker, somewhat faster picker upper.
I'll be honest, I don't remember if quicker picker upper is Bounty or the other one, but you know.
It's
okay. Is it?
It's
what's
Bounty.
the man? What's the one with the
Brawny.
man on it?
Yeah, Brawny. That's right.
Brawny.
Yeah.
That they're pretty close. They both start with B and end with Y.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, since it's pretty basic cleaners, I'm like, whatever, right? Because I've been trying to make more of an effort for like, if I'm gonna buy something, I'm gonna try and either buy it like at a store around me, or like if I'm gonna buy Nikes, I'll go to Nike.com, which you have to now because of Amazon. I don't know. That's just where I'm at, which is like my personal purchasing habits have brought me to a place where I don't really need to care as much about Amazon reviews, I think. But what I do think is interesting is that, you know, most of Amazon's sellers are third party, right? 58% are third party sellers.
Wow.
And because of that, Amazon doesn't really have to be that liable when it comes to really anything, yet they're still going to make trillions. But, you know, since they're not liable, it's kind of like, do they really have to care about their user reviews that much? And to its credit, the company is trying to fight them, but it's also like, you know, I mean, if they wanted to make reviews reliable, they could.
Yeah.
But they won't.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the crazy thing about Amazon in general is like the company itself is fucking massive. But the scope of the thing that it has created in both AWS and Amazon, among many, many other services and other things that they do, is it's way too big for them. Like the scope for that is it's impossible for them to possibly manage like all the products that are going in and out on Amazon.com. It's impossible. Like they can't even come close to monitoring everything that happens on the website.
Yeah, I mean, what was the stupid amount of growth that has happened over the pandemic? It was like evaluated at like 19 billion and it's like 135 billion. I might just be conjuring those numbers, but it was a significant increase.
Akin to that.
Yeah,
because
nonetheless, Amazon did well because of the pandemic.
Yeah. Which I could both see like, okay, sure, like you have totally enough budget for a ton of growth and maybe starting to address these issues that have only been further exacerbated by the pandemic because people have to do a lot of their shopping online.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. So and in that sense too, then it is very difficult for them to also monitor the reviews that are happening on their website. And beyond that, it's caused an epidemic of fake reviews to happen. As Robert pointed out earlier, they do have things like if you get a product shipped to you, they'll include like a coupon, get 10% off your next purchase if you leave a review, right? Maybe they encourage you to leave a 5-star review, right? In some cases too. So there you're already getting into the weeds of, people are going to leave better reviews because they want to get 10% off that next thing that they need. Obviously they like bribery. The product. Yeah, it's bribery. It's more or less bribery. And granted, I will say though that if they plan on buying the product again, I would assume that they liked the product to begin with, though, to be fair. But it's still some form of bribery. And not to mention, there's also the implicit bias that the people that are putting in reviews on Amazon are the people that feel compelled to do it, whether it's because they had a really good experience or really bad ones. I feel like a lot of those reviews already aren't going to be something that's like super in-depth and detailed, because, you just don't see that as often. It's much easier to just click the 1 or the 5-star button and be done with it than sit down and write out an entire review.
Which is a more recent advent, right? It's within the last year that you can just hit stars instead of actually writing something out.
Yeah. And so like the reasoning that they gave for that was because they don't want to essentially, if you get a product from somewhere else but still want to put a review for said product on Amazon, you should be able to do that.
And
and there were a lot of like super short reviews in the past where it's just like it good
is good
5-star.
Yeah, and to be fair, you can also filter reviews by verified Amazon purchase, right?
Yes.
So the people who can leave the review, like it's in their account that they purchased the product and got it. But if you ask me, I think that all reviews on Amazon should be verified Amazon purchase, in the same way that if you bought that product on Walmart, leave the fucking review on walmart.com. If you bought it at Best Buy, leave the review on bestbuy.com. Every major retailer nowadays has their own user review section. So is it really?
Sure do.
Yeah. And I get that there's value in trying to update your thoughts on whatever product on as many stores as possible. But then you're also kind of gaming the system, and then you're opening the door for fake reviews, for people who've never bought that Amazon product to leave a review saying, oh, I totally got it, and it was super duper good and you should buy it too, 5-star. Or the opposite, review bombing it, 1-star, it's shit.
Yeah. And fake reviews at the end of the day it does really nothing positive other than something for competitors, right? Something who
muddies the waters,
right? And muddies the water, especially if there's two companies that sell the same product. Maybe it's advantageous for one company to leave bad reviews on the other, what have you. But for the consumer, it's a lose-lose. It's just going to end with consumers getting a lesser quality product, even though they were led to believe it would be better. Maybe they're paying more for that product because it has higher reviews than the other, whereas they probably were just the same amount of quality, if not the other one maybe was better. I mean, there's so many directions you could take with it, but ultimately, a lot of fake reviews it's bad news. It's not doing anyone any favors, and it's just
gonna want accurate information.
Yeah, people just want accurate information. Exactly. Now, to take this in another direction, there's also been instances of fake reviews due to review bombing, right? Whereas it wasn't an actually true critique from these people. They were either review bombing it because of something that happened or came out about this product that was unrelated to the product itself.
Last of Us Part 2.
Yes. Or, their competitors in the same space that are telling their employees to leave negative reviews on a competitor's page in order for them to rank lower, or give their own company positive reviews to make themselves rank higher, specifically on Amazon listings.
I mean, what's fascinating too is that there's now a micro industry raised out of this of you can get on like stuff like Fiverr or whatever and hire people to do marketing strategies. There's air quotes here, audio medium. And basically it's just we'll put a bunch of reviews on something or a bunch of positive reviews on something, or just everyone will follow that so that it looks like that there's a lot of people that are behind this company or that are familiar with this company, even though it just came out of nowhere, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because I don't want us to lose sight of what the average consumer is like, because I think both of you have expressed generally a lot of concern with reviews. Like when you're buying a purchase, especially a big one, you both do the research and put in the effort to look, right?
I buy living things. I need to know if they'll be alive.
Right. But for the average consumer, that might not be the case because, frankly, for a lot of people, they have busy lives, right? If they need to buy something somewhere, they see the 4.5 stars, they're like, cool, I'll get it done. Like, I don't even need to, I just need that thing. And the stars say it's a good thing, so I'm going to get it, and that's it, right? Like,
it's all astrology. We listen to the stars.
Yep, it's all the stars.
Oh, shit.
Right.
Yeah. So when that's all the consumers, like the effort they're putting into verifying the quality of the product, it just creates this ecosystem where these review bombings or review uplifts, review... fixing the reviews, gaming the system.
Positive review bombings, I guess.
What's the opposite of a bomb?
Yeah, but it's this ecosystem where gaming the system in that way is rewarded, right? Because that's all that matters. The number at the end is all that matters. Ends justify the means, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's something to be said with, like, you know, if something's like 5 out of 5 stars, but there's only like 10 reviews, right, total for whatever it is, as opposed to like 4.5 stars but hundreds of reviews, that's, I mean, those are two different things. It's the what is that called? Is that the law of averages?
Yeah, I think so. Just, power in numbers. When more people have given it positive reviews, you kind of think it's stronger. Yeah.
That product's more trustworthy, and and also the belief of, like, nothing can be absolutely perfect. So I don't know, there's just there's a lot of aspects going into this, and Robert's totally right about, like, average consumers. Like, people aren't gonna really, if they don't give a shit, they don't give a shit. I mean, my parents are kind of that way. They're not gonna sit there and take the time to read review after review of whatever thing unless it's like a big purchase, a significant purchase, like, I don't know, a car or a camper or a boat. In my dad's case.
Only things that will get you places.
Yeah, things that will get you places and are really expensive.
And when it comes to marketing, right, it's like before the proliferation of user reviews, it's kind of all about brand and reputation, right? Like,
yes.
if you grew up in a family where, like, your dad was a Chevrolet man, like, you're probably more inclined to buy a Chevrolet of your own when you hit your 20s or 30s, right? Just because you've grown up in a world where you're thinking, wow, yeah, Chevys are like fucking rad, dude, right?
Yeah, brand loyalty.
Right, so there's brand loyalty, but then there's also just brand reputation, brand recognition, right? Like, if you're thinking, oh, I want to get athletic shoes, Nike is probably one of the first things you just think about, just because of, just do it, right? If not Nike, maybe Puma or Adidas, right? But those names, you recognize those names. You don't need someone to tell you that Nike shoe is 5 stars, right? You just know the Nike quality and brand. Now with, like, user reviews out there, you can run into a lot of counterfeits and knockoffs on Amazon from no-name companies that you've never ever heard of and have never run an ad campaign, but you see them and they have like 10,000 4.5 5-star reviews, and you're like, how the fuck do they have that? It just makes you think that they're just as good as Nike.
Yeah, and that's the really messy thing with Amazon right now, and I've actually even noticed it in my own browsing around Amazon as of late, that it's getting particularly terrible with a lot of counterfeit products. It's, even like video games, you could go on there right now and buy like 101 DS cartridges and stuff like that with video games, and they're straight up.
I thought you were gonna say 101 Dalmatians, the video game, and I was like, oh shit, was that one of those bad Disney games?
I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure you can buy a counterfeit version of it.
Yeah, it's called Kingdom Hearts.
You can buy one DS cartridge that has like 100 officially licensed Nintendo games on it. Like, I mean, they're not licensed obviously to that cartridge, but I'm saying like they're real Nintendo games.
Mm-hmm.
Mario
Is
64.
that allowed?
Yeah, and it's definitely not allowed, but they're there and they haven't gotten taken down yet. And Amazon doesn't do anything about them. And it's not like you have to look for them. You go on like the DS or the Game Boy Advance page, like the splash page on Amazon websites for those consoles, and they are front and center. Those counterfeit cartridges, like they are right there, ready for you to buy, and people do because they don't care. Like they're giving me the games. It's cheaper than the aftermarket retro gaming community price because those games are increasingly just astronomically priced now. I mean that's an episode for another time. But I mean, yeah. So the people are just getting away with selling stuff like that, and not to mention all of the Chinese companies that are on there now selling all sorts of products that are undermining other brand name products too.
I just realized like the extreme version of this, of just like totally fake products and faked user reviews, is wish.com.
Yes. Yeah, wish.com's the worst. It's like the worst kind of counterfeit, right?
It's like everything 5 stars, and it's like, what? This product is literally human teeth. What are you trying to sell me?
Dude, it's not
5
even
stars,
an exaggeration.
42 people.
It's not even an exaggeration. I see ads where people they're trying to sell me a crack pipe. Like,
but it's like a really good crack.
It's like a really good quality crack pipe. Holds
65 people say that it's 5 out of 5 stars. Mm-hmm. So
no, but I think a really good example I always think of when it comes to Amazon splash pages is because if you've shopped Amazon enough and you've come across those splash pages, or you see major brands, they have like a store on Amazon, a store page, right? They all look pretty. No, they don't look good because Amazon puts no effort into its experiences like that. But, they're at least presented in an organized way where you're like, okay, I feel like I'm in an electronic space that is for this brand, this company, right?
Yes.
Nike has one. Nike does not sell through Amazon anymore. It is those like third-party vendors, that 58% of Amazon sellers, third-party vendors, that are selling Nike products without Nike being in the mix through an official looking Nike splash page for Amazon. That is how fucked the system is.
Wouldn't Nike be upset about that?
You'd think.
Well,
I mean, they probably
that's why they left in the first place, was because there was counterfeits being sold right next to the real thing.
And not only that, Amazon. And the reviews, right? Like the reviews for those counterfeits are like fake reviewed the hell up to make them look like they can compete with the real thing, like they're totally real Nikes.
Yeah, and I mean it's to the point where people will take a high selling Amazon product and some other company will copy the designs exactly or make like essentially the same but cheaper and sell them on Amazon right next to the real name brand product. And apparently it's leans heavily towards a lot of Chinese companies from what I was reading, specifically, that are making a lot of these doubles. So I mean, it is just a complete mess over on Amazon right now. If you want to try to buy, I don't know, pretty much anything. It's kind of like what next? Just toothpaste now? Fake toothpaste? Fake
skincare.
shampoo?
You got to be careful with your skincare, especially the like very popular like K beauty brands. There's a lot of fakes out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Get the real thing from the real retailer, unless you want, because you're putting that on your face presumably. So value your face.
Mm-hmm. Same with fragrances too. There's a lot of knockoff or counterfeit fragrances out there on Amazon.
Fake smells. First there was fake news. Now there's fake smells.
Fucking fake smells. So I mean, all in all, Amazon is just a crazy experience, and you really got to pick and choose your battles on there now, because I just don't think there's any way they can really get a good handle on it at this point, because it's just Amazon's too big. It's so big.
Yeah.
Like there's only so much they can do, Yeah.
Maybe it's my anti-capitalism streak going, but it's like, to me, this is a prime example of profit over quality, right? Because clearly by facilitating this system, where fake reviews can run wild and third-party vendors can kind of do and sell whatever they want through Amazon. All of it is still going into Jeff's pocket, or I guess Andy Jassy's pocket now, right? So do they care? Not really, as long as they're making their dime, right? But because of that, it's just proliferating this pretty horrible anti-consumer experience.
Absolutely.
Just hidden behind the convenience of pro-consumer, like 2-day shipping and all that.
Yeah. And the really frustrating part too is like, now, of course, Amazon is a huge conglomerate, and people accuse it of like being the reason why a lot of like small mom and pop businesses close. And that, I mean, that's been a huge thing and continues to be a huge thing. And some mom and pop businesses have started to try and combat that by selling some of their products on Amazon, right? But then you run into
which they love to boast about too. They're like, we're helping small businesses.
Yeah, and I mean, that's all well and good. If you're a mom and pop business and you need to find ways to like you can distribute your product and you can sell it on Amazon, you make money from there. I mean, like, good on you. But at the same time, you're opening yourself up to like, if your product catches on, you sell a lot. Next thing you know, some other company comes along and makes a duplicate of it for cheaper, and now you're losing business. Like that Amazon avenue for your product is gone. You know, and people are going to walk into your business, they're going to see your product and be like, oh, okay. And they're going to look it up on Amazon and be like, oh, well, it's much cheaper on Amazon. Why would I buy it here? You know, when they're actually getting a lesser product.
So, everything sucks.
Yeah, everything sucks. But to sort of broaden the discussion again, I mean, it is kind of crazy, though, how much these reviews like genuinely affect our lives. I mean, it's to the point where like we've done almost everything except for the Black Mirror thing, where we're just going to start grading each other socially, and it's already becoming a thing in China, from what I understand. So where people are just like kind of grading people based on like social interactions and things like that.
I think we should bring back the MySpace like top 10 friends. And then that's how we base all our social interactions, like the hierarchy of the top 10.
I agree, but only if everyone's top 1 is Tom.
Yeah, I mean, given.
Yeah.
He's just like above us all on the hierarchy. He's untouchable Tom.
My number 2's got to be Steve from Blue's Clues.
He never forgot us.
No,
he never forgot us. not a once.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even like reviews on Uber and Lyft and all that stuff. I mean, we're constantly reviewing things all the time. And I'll be honest with you, like, I don't put much thought into a lot of those reviews, you know? Like, I don't think I've ever sat down and like written out a review for like an Amazon product or anything like that. Like, I don't know about you guys. I know, Daily, you said you put in pretty detailed reviews for your plants, but I mean, does that translate to anything else?
No. In my life, no. Unless something does me very wrong and I'm like, hey, be careful, like the edge of this might literally cut you, or something to that standard, I'm typically not going to leave a review. I'm not even going to do the star thing, because typically I feel like, oh, the other reviews already said my thoughts, or there's nothing for me to really say. I don't have a strong opinion about my new Old Spice deodorant.
Yeah, you can let the bot speak for you.
Yeah. I mean,
I will in all things.
I mean, if things work as they should and they do what you expect it to do, I mean, I'm not necessarily going to feel compelled to leave a review. It's like, okay, yeah, I got this thing. It works like it's supposed to. Great. I can go on with my day. You know, I don't really feel compelled to leave a review. And that's when you get into the bias of like, if something does go wrong, right? If you do get a faulty product or you do have a bad experience somewhere with some service, you feel more compelled to leave a review and leave a negative one at that. But
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like that's something that people talked about for the longest time, but I feel like, I don't know if it's just because the media has fallen off that discussion, but I feel like it still happens. It has to still happen. Like, more often than not for people.
Where they leave negative reviews because they have a bad experience.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it does, right?
Yeah.
Like, if anything, that's kind of the common wisdom, right? That they leave more negative. Generally, people leave more negative reviews than positive reviews.
Right, which is why that's true. Now that I think about it, if you do look at a typical Amazon product page, you do see like it's usually like a whole shitload of like 5-star reviews, like usually in the hundreds or even thousands. But then you have at the bottom, it's like the 2, 3, and 4-star reviews are like way lesser. Like we're talking, I don't know, maybe in the tens or something like that. But then you go all the way down to the 1-stars, and it's like sometimes the bar could be half as many 1-star reviews as it is 5-star reviews. Not often, but
I'm not going to report if I feel lukewarm toward this product.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because like if you see 3 out of 5 stars, that is more meaningless than a 5 or a 1-star, right? I think from any review source, whether it's a professional critic or the average user aggregate or anything, you know, like if the product is middling, no one wants middling anymore. We live in a high-tech society. We live in the modern day. We don't settle for anything less than perfect.
I can find better. Yeah,
you know?
I can find the best ever in the world.
Exactly.
At my fingertips.
Yeah, and I mean, there also is, I mean, with Amazon, there is the exception, and that's something I forgot to bring up, but during our Amazon discussion was, I've seen several times where people use the space to where they would write a review to instead review the process of getting their product that they ordered, right? Like where they say, oh, this showed up like banged up and broken, the package was broken, shipping took way too long. People leave that as part of their reviews, and I feel like that probably skews a lot of the reviews you see on Amazon too. Like,
I mean, that's a big part of the plant shipping, because it's not fulfilled in an Amazon warehouse. It's typically fulfilled by the person growing the plants, presumably.
Right. I mean, I guess that's a question I'll pose to you guys then, is like, you know, I mean, should how the product gets to you or how it's packaged or your experience shipping, should that be part of the actual product review? Because that's not really necessarily reviewing the product itself. It's more so reviewing the process of getting the product.
I think it depends on how it's packaged, right?
Yeah.
So
if it's a flaw of the original packaging.
Yeah, if it's a flaw with the seller who's literally putting it in the box, yeah, because that's still a reflection on the vendor, right? As to how they treat the product that's supposed to be your next prized possession. If it's UPS banged it up, or if it's USPS fucked it up, yeah, you know, them's just packages, them's just delivery, right? Like
that's not valuable. Like my new AirPods just got in. I love them, except they came all banged up. It's like that didn't happen that happened in the truck.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So I feel like it's not always intuitive for people to leave reviews that are just like, oh, the package came fucked up, 1 star. Like that's not helping me. That's not helping me learn about the product at all. And if anything, it's just going to make it rank lower just because you had a bad shipping experience. You know, I mean, my new computer came with a gigantic hole in the side of the box, and I was worried that the fucking thing was going to be broken. But I'm not going to go to Digital Storm and be like, oh, you guys sent me a bad computer. They packaged it well, and that's why it wasn't broken when I opened the box. But like the fact that there was a hole in the side is like, what the fuck? How do you do that? Like FedEx,
you kick it.
You know?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to leave her a bad review because FedEx fucked up my package.
Right.
You know? But yeah, so I feel like that's just something to keep in mind. And I feel like we've covered a lot of ground with the review side of things.
Shipping.
Yeah, ground.
Oh, I get it.
Fucking God, ground shipping is so slow. But I do want to toss it to Daily because you told us that you have an anecdote about an Amazon review killer.
Oh shit. Okay, y'all ready for this? Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's great when people are actually passionate about. I think we appreciate when people are actually informational in their reviews as far as their use. Like, how did you use this? How did it work for that? Hey, I used this shovel to dig a grave, and it worked great. Actual review from the Amazon review killer, which sounds like, oh, you're taking down reviews. No, this man was a mass murderer. He's a serial killer who would leave reviews on like knives, chains, kinky shit.
Various murder-related instruments.
Yeah, murder-related instruments. MRIs. Yeah. And he would be totally honest for what he was using them for. Like, I got this Bowie knife, can't wait to stab someone with it. Or I use these chains and they will hold up a 200-pound person that I have locked in my shipping container for 6 months.
See, I'm just picturing him ordering spoons and just killing someone with the spoon slowly over time.
I mean, he had regular ass like reviews for stuff too.
So he wasn't completely deranged.
Okay,
not 100% deranged.
He did completely. He just 100% did commit to the bit.
It's just amazing. Like, he reviews everything, so it didn't occur to him not to post public reviews for the things that he was using to kidnap and murder people with.
For the crimes.
Yeah, the crimes. But you know, he was totally honest on his reviews. The same goes for some of his Facebook posts, as far as like, I think some people should just disappear, and various ominous postings like that. And there weren't enough red flags until they were actually able to catch him pretty much red-handed with someone chained in a shipping container on one of his properties, literally dog collar chained to the wall.
Woof.
What? What?
You know,
I think it was 7 people confirmed that he killed. So
holy shit!
You know, you'd think that honesty is good and all, but there is a point when maybe you are too honest about things. And, you know, in this case, it's good, right? Because he got caught.
Honesty is the best policy?
I think it's one of those things, though, where it's like he was the type of deranged killer who wanted to get caught, it sounded like.
Like, the reviews and shit did not at all. It was totally after the fact. It was after they had found several bodies on his property and the girl that he had locked up for 6 months and done horrible things to, and also bought her adult coloring books, which he also left Amazon reviews for.
Wait, so you're telling me that the Amazon reviews did not factor into the detective case catching him? Okay.
No.
Oh, so he was caught, he was arrested, and then he left the reviews.
No. He had been leaving the reviews for years while he was operating as a serial killer. And he was also posting, weird shit on Facebook, but none of that factored into how they caught him.
Right.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay. So that is another feather in my fucking arrow quiver against Amazon, because you know what? If they could review their reviews, you would think they would catch something like this, right? But like, clearly there is not enough overview or oversight.
He's just trolling, lol.
Yeah.
I mean, even then, if it's consistent, you think they would at least tip someone off and be like, hey, should we maybe like investigate this person, or like give it to the FBI or, the 911 people?
That we joke about it. You buy weird shit online. It's like, I'm going to be on a watch list now.
Yeah. But like, this is someone who genuinely should have been on a watch list, because he's giving pretty honest reviews about like, yeah, this knife cut good. I can tell because I put it through a person and they bled real nice, right? Like when you leave reviews like that, it's pretty clear. Like, okay, maybe this is more of a joke, more than a joke. Maybe this is serious. Maybe we should look into it, right? But if Amazon can't even catch that, how the fuck are they going to catch fake reviews, right? And like, are you
going to catch a killer? How are you going to catch just liars?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is that I know Amazon is putting effort into like catching bots, like they have algorithms and shit, but there needs to be more than algorithms when we're coming to this sort of stuff. And I live in Seattle. I know a lot of people work at Amazon, at the corporate, not to mention how many people work in the warehouses all around the world. You can fucking hire more people and probably pay them well too, to have a little bit better quality control.
I agree. I just don't know how much of a difference it would make. I feel like eventually they would try to do something similar to YouTube, right? Where they're like trying to enact all these algorithms and they're trying to catch people into flags the wrong thing, but it's just a little too overzealous. And I feel like that's eventually what they're going to have to turn to. And like, if it's something that needs human review, then it like they'll request human review.
Hire the people to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
You got the money to do it.
I agree. I just don't think it's going to be I just
That
wonder how
they're not going to do that
be.
because of the cost association.
Well, that
yeah,
too.
I'm not going to say, they just do these things and tomorrow everything is fixed, right? But I just don't get the sense that this is high on Amazon's priority list.
No.
Because all that matters is Amazon makes its sweet penny so they can send bald people to space.
I mean, we're talking about capitalism here, my man. So if we want to change,
we made this into an anti-capitalist podcast again.
It always is.
Yeah. But it's true though. Like if there's no monetary incentive for them to do something like this, then they're not going to feel the need.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you live in a country where monetary incentive is the only incentive.
I mean, it
morals
really is though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that you talk about any sort of company or corporation, organization, company, business, whatever. The language that they speak is money at the end of the day.
Moolah.
So, moolah. Yeah. So, wow. Amazon. What a
you.
And I guess I do want to say too, I know we've been slagging Amazon a lot, much deservedly so. A lot of these user review things also apply to a lot of other e-com sites because e-com is, that has genuinely led to the rise of all of these user reviews, right?
Yeah,
and these
Target,
same
Walmart,
problems.
Best Buy.
Yeah, and these same problems to different magnitudes apply to things like Best Buy and even to like a Lush USA or, whatever boutique online store you want to go to.
All this is to say nothing of the fact that various sites do just straight up delete negative reviews. Like if you leave like a total butt review, they're going to just be like, nah, we don't need to display that.
Yeah, they'll definitely do that. And I'm always really sketched out rather, when I go to a website for a given brand and they have user reviews right on the brand's website. And of course they're going to be glowing, right? Like it's seldom that I go to a brand's website and they have a reviews page and they're just going to have, Tim from fucking Kentucky saying like, oh yeah, I bought this product and it was shitty. It stopped working within like the first 3 days of using it. Like you're just not going to see that, No,
in that context, you should think of it more as like, these are just going to be endorsements.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is a little praise section.
Yeah. And usually if there is a negative review, it's one where the brand has already like, replied to it, their PR team, and was like, hey, sorry you had this bad experience. Can you contact us here and we'll help you take care of that, et cetera, et cetera.
We're responsive and polite.
Yeah. And we could talk about customer service. Maybe that's another episode, but I mean, we didn't even get into the whole aspect of like people interacting with brands on like say Twitter and things like that. Be like, hey,
fuck no, that's its own episode.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Silence, brand.
Yes, exactly. So it's like, hey, American Airlines, I had a fucking terrible experience on my flight. I haven't flown American Airlines, I don't think, so this isn't true. But I'm just pulling from what I've seen on Twitter. Like, and they'd be like, hey, so can you message us and we can, get this rolling and whatever and try to help you out. And it's like, yeah, that's the type of thing you deal with. So at the same time, we do have the means of just kind of lashing out on social media if we need to. I mean, that's what some people have turned to, and sometimes that's the only way you can get a response, a reaction. So, all right. But I think that about wraps up this episode in case you guys had anything you wanted to touch upon and before we
I think that people should leave us reviews.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't even get into iTunes reviews and Apple Podcast reviews and
iTunes reviews.
Yeah, hey, if you leave us a 5-star review, DM us and we'll give you a code to get 100% off your next episode of Everything in Poderation.
Yeah,
we do have the power to do that.
Yes, we can give you straight into your podcast feed a free episode of Everything in Poderation.
But only if you give us a 5-star review. Not that we're bribing you or anything, because that would be unethical.
Yeah,
2 months free of OnlyFans.
Oh, that's true. We do have an OnlyFans now. I forgot. free codes for, you want review codes for OnlyFans? Oh my God, is that a thing?
You want review codes for Everything in Poderation, the game?
The game.
Oh,
which we're totally working on.
Yeah, yep. It's on the back burner for a while, but we're working on it, and for a while, I mean, probably forever. But yeah, if that's all we have to touch upon with user reviews, I think that does it for this episode. You can reach us at everythinginpod on Twitter. You can email us everythinginpod@gmail.com if you want to reach out to us. Tell us about your reviewing experience. Do you write Amazon reviews? How do you feel about it? Do you take reviews into account before buying things? Do you review your Amazon drivers? Make sure you tip. Okay, that's the one thing I will say. Make sure you leave a tip, because people need tips nowadays. People are trying to hustle. These companies don't pay these people enough. And I know this is an anti-capitalist podcast, so I'm going to tell you to leave a tip.
Yeah, because capitalism doesn't factor in for, livable wages or anything like that.
No.
Yeah, exactly. But that's going to do it for this episode of Everything in Poderation. We'll see you next Thursday. Goodbye.